If you had to describe American food culture in just one word, what would it be? That's a question I kept coming back to while putting together this video. America's short history and mixed culture mean there are simply no rules at the dinner table. Americans dip French fries in milkshakes, they put bacon on ice cream, they eat fried chicken on waffles, and don't think twice. And America's powerful food industry has only made that spirit bigger, turning any wild idea into a product on supermarket shelves. The result? A whole lineup of bold, unexpected, only-in-America foods that shouldn't work, but somehow absolutely do. That's what today's video is all. Most people know that Americans love their meat, but what you might not expect is that they also invented some of the most legendary salads in the world. The Waldorf Salad was created in the late 1800s by Oskar Tschirky at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. Made with apples, celery, walnuts, and mayonnaise. Elegant, cold, and classic. Caesar salad was born during Prohibition in the border town of Tijuana, created by Italian immigrant Caesar Cardini. Romaine, croutons, parmesan, anchovies. Simple and timeless. The 1930s gave us the Cobb Salad from Hollywood's Brown Derby restaurant, with its signature rows of neatly diced toppings, so beautiful it could pass as a main course. But if you had to crown one true national salad of the United States, it wouldn't have a famous chef or a fancy origin story behind it. It would be a bottle, a creamy, herby, unmistakably white bottle of ranch dressing. Ranch is America's flavor, the white stuff, the great equalizer, and its origin story? Perfectly, hilariously American. Back in the 1950s, a plumber named Steve Henson was working up in Anchorage, Alaska, when he accidentally mixed together a salad dressing that people couldn't stop talking about. So, he did what any reasonable person would do, and spent the next 5 or 6 years turning it into a business. By the late 1950s, Henson was selling his secret dry seasoning mix by mail for just 75 cents a packet. Customers mixed it at home with buttermilk and mayonnaise, a DIY kit, and people loved it. By the mid-1960s, his product had a serious fan base across the American Southwest, and in 1972, food giant Kraft bought him out for $8 million and launched ranch as a real commercial product. By the 90s, ranch had overtaken every competitor to become the #1 selling salad dressing in America. Today, over 70% of American households have a bottle in the fridge at all times. And it's not really a salad dressing anymore. It's a dipping sauce for chicken wings, pizza, fries, vegetables, burgers, tacos, you name it. There are even ranch-flavored chips and popcorn. Was a plumber's accidental recipe destined to define a nation's palate? Probably not. But in America, it did. And maybe that's the whole point. Throughout history, some of the smallest inventions have changed everything. Around 3000 BC, the Sumerians discovered that wood ash could make soap, quietly launching the entire concept of sanitation. In 1809, a Norwegian clerk named Johan Valler bent a piece of wire into a loop and invented the paperclip, a tiny tool that transformed office life forever. In 94, a Japanese engineer created a grid of black and white squares that would one day power the entire mobile internet. That's the QR code. And in American food, there's an invention just as small, just as simple, and just as world-changing: sliced bread. July 7th, 1928, Otto Frederick Rohwedder introduced machine-sliced bread at the Chillicothe Baking Company in Missouri. Bread itself is ancient. The Egyptians used wild yeast. The Greeks and Romans refined the craft. Through the Middle Ages, the type of bread you ate told people your social class. Bread had been part of Western civilization for thousands of years, and yet nobody had thought to sell it pre-sliced. People cut their bread at home, of course, but selling it already sliced, at the point of sale, that was considered strange, radical even, only in America. And it wasn't simple. Rohwedder spent years perfecting the exact slice thickness, the right baking trays, and the packaging needed to keep it fresh. The impact was enormous. Sliced bread kick-started the modern era of convenience eating, shifting food culture away from homemade and toward ready-to-eat. It laid the foundation for sandwich culture and American fast food as we know it, and it pushed the entire food industry towards standardized packaging and mass distribution. Americans want to compliment something extraordinary, they still say, "That's the greatest thing since sliced bread." And honestly, They're not wrong. Once sliced bread existed, Americans immediately did something completely their own with it. They invented the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The earliest known mention dates back to May 1896 in a recipe published by Good Housekeeping magazine. But PBJ really took off in the 1920s and 30s, when industrial peanut butter brands made it cheap and widely available, and affordable white bread was already in every home. Americans started slapping the two together, adding jams and fruit preserves, and handing it to their kids for lunch. Simple, sweet, filling, utterly without pretense. It became the quintessential American childhood meal, and it remains one of the most consumed sandwiches in the United States to this day. There's a concept in philosophy that says, whatever a person depends on becomes their god. If that's true in American food, then corn is the deity of the New World. Corn is America's #1 crop. It's food, it's industrial raw material, it's animal feed, it's even fuel. Corn is everywhere. So it makes complete sense that in the late 1800s, an American candy maker paid tribute to the mighty corn kernel by creating one of the most iconic candies in history, candy corn. Made from corn syrup, candy corn was designed to look exactly like a real kernel of corn, a small, waxy, tri-colored piece of sugar shaped like a tiny triangle. Early packaging often featured a rooster because the candy was originally nicknamed chicken feed, implying people loved it the way chickens love corn. Over time, candy corn found its true spiritual home, Halloween. The connection made sense. Corn suggests harvest, harvest suggests autumn, autumn suggests Halloween. And so candy corn became the Halloween candy, the one you either absolutely love or completely despise. Today, the United States produces roughly 35 million pounds of candy corn every year. That's about 9 billion pieces, laid end to end, enough to circle the earth 4 times. And the reinvention never stops. At Christmas, it comes in red, white, and green. On Valentine's Day, pink and red. There's always a new holiday, always a new reason to buy more. Only America could turn a simple candy into a perpetual seasonal product that appears in some form virtually every month of the year. And only American consumers cheerfully, enthusiastically would keep buying it every single time. From a plumber's accidental sauce to a machine that slices bread. From peanut butter on white toast to candy shaped like corn. American food culture is chaotic. It's commercial. It's contradictory. It's loud. But it's also genuinely creative in ways no other food culture quite manages, because it operates without rules, and with an industrial engine powerful enough to turn any crazy idea into a billion-dollar product. Love it or hate it, the American table is unlike anything else in the world.